Coming Food Police. For Liberty News Network, I'm Tom Eddlem. The Massachusetts legislature and its Department of Public Health recently set off a national furor over a proposed statewide ban on bake sales at school events under the guise of fighting obesity. The national exposure forced Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick to lift the proposed ban from the regulations. Quote, "Nobody's interested in banning bake sales," Patrick said to the Boston Herald May 10th, backtracking. Quote, "We are interested in student nutrition and good choices," close quote. The State House had just overwhelmingly voted to amend the health care law they had passed a year earlier. Massachusetts public health bureaucrats were clearly unhappy that the politicians chickened out. Quote, "The school nutrition standards have always been about reducing childhood obesity in Massachusetts and protecting our kids from serious long-term health effects that obesity can cause," Department of Public Health Commissioner John Auerbach said in a defensive statement. At the direction of Governor Patrick, the department will seek to remove these provisions. "We hope to return the focus to how we can work together to make our schools healthy environments in which our children can thrive," close quote. In other words, we'll try again when the public outcry subsides. Just as Romneycare in Massachusetts was the precursor to Obamacare nationally, so the ban on bake sales and food control of the population is a precursor of what will happen nationally. Massachusetts isn't alone, and it isn't first. Bloomberg Businessweek reported May 3rd that, quote, "schools in California, Colorado, Mississippi, Nevada, New Mexico, New York, and Texas have regulations aimed at limiting bake sales to nutritious food," close quote. And nobody stopped food control in those states. There was no public outcry there. New York City's regulations on food are rife with contradictions, according to Bloomberg Businessweek. Quote, "Under the rules, Grandma's fresh-from-the-oven banana bread can be declared contraband, while some Kellogg's Pop-Tarts are deemed wholesome," close quote. Back in February, a preschooler at West Hoke Elementary School in North Carolina was told to eat chicken nuggets for lunch by a visiting state health official because the lunch her mother packed, a turkey sandwich, a banana, apple juice, and a bag of potato chips, was deemed not healthy enough. And officials in Maryland have already banned bake sales. Quote, "If a bake sale is going on, it's reported to administration and it's taken care of," Montgomery County, Maryland official Marla Kaplan of the county's Food and Nutrition Services told Bloomberg, quote, "You can't sell Girl Scout cookies, candy, cakes, any of that stuff," close quote. Have no fear about the lack of uniformity in the nutrition police. National standards and rules are coming, according to Bloomberg, and the excuse will be that it is a necessary control on healthcare costs, which the federal government is now managing under Obamacare. Indeed, the obese do incur far more health costs than normal weight people. Obese men cost $1,152 a year more in healthcare costs than normal weighted individuals, according to a study by Lehigh University, and obese women use $3,613 a year more in health care. That's a total difference of $190 billion per year in increased cost at current rates of obesity. But current rates are rising, and if trends continue, costs would increase proportionately. The Centers for Disease Control say that overweight and obese people are more likely to contract coronary heart disease, type 2 diabetes, some cancers, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, stroke, liver and gallbladder disease, sleep apnea, and respiratory problems, osteoarthritis, among other problems. MSNBC says that, quote, "The U.S. healthcare reform law of 2010 allows employers to charge obese workers 30 to 50% more in healthcare insurance if they decline to participate in a qualified wellness program," close quote. Of course, employers should charge their obese employees more for health coverage if they cost more from activity that results from their own lifestyle choices. But allowing employers to do this and requiring them to do it are two entirely different things. Eventually, the federal government will require exercise and a proper diet in order to control out-of-control healthcare costs. And the federal government already has a Supreme Court precedent in place to justify their demands, the 1942 case, Wickard versus Filburn. In that case, one of the worst Supreme Court decisions ever, a farmer was charged with violating federal interstate commerce laws for growing feed on his own farm to feed his own livestock. In that case, the federal government ruled that, quote, "It is well established by decisions of this court that the power to regulate commerce includes the power to regulate the prices at which commodities in that commerce are dealt in and practices affecting such prices. And clearly, obesity affects healthcare prices. In the 1930s, the agriculture industry was heavily subsidized by federal payments. It's not unlike both the agriculture and healthcare industries today. In the Wickard versus Filburn case, the court ruled, quote, "It is hardly lack of due process for the government to regulate that which it subsidizes." And it will. The food police are coming, and in some states, they're already here. So are the exercise police. But that may only be the beginning. Fox News Channel personality John Stossel got it right, as he usually does, in his April 25th column. Quote, "When government pays more for your health care, it will inevitably be drawn into regulating your personal life. First, politicians promise to pay. Then, they propose to control you. Where does it stop? If we must control diet to balance the government's budget, will the health squad next ban skydiving and extramarital sex? How about another tried prohibition? None of this would be necessary if the federal government lived within its constitutional mandate to stick to the 25 or so powers enumerated in Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution and stop abusing the Commerce Clause outside of its original intent. Americans have a choice. They can have freedom under the Constitution or a federal government that tells them what to eat and when to exercise. For Liberty News Network, I'm Tom Eddlem.